Symposium. I'm Honora Chapman, the Dean of the College of Arts and Humanities, and I'm really pleased to be greeting you for this two-day event. We are honored to have such esteemed scholars and community members who have joined us from different parts of the country and from India. Many community members, colleagues, and students are also joining us on Zoom, and that's our webinar camera, so I say hello to all of you out there. Our special appreciation goes to the Uberoy Foundation trustees who have spent a lovely day together here on our campus, meeting all day long and having lunch with us as well. These trustees include Dr. Mahinder Uberoy's nieces, Anu Bhatia and Jyoti Bhatia. And they have come here. They have come here all the way from New Delhi, India. As well as Dr. Ramdas Lam from Hawaii. Dr. Yashwant Pathak from Florida. And Executive Director Mr. Jim Polsfoot from Denver. We are also thankful to JP and Renu Sethi for being the first in supporting Gandhi events at Fresno State, including this one. In fact, Dr. Veena Howard's new edited volume, Gandhi's Global Legacy, based upon the conference we all attended back in 2019, will be coming out this month. We are especially honored that Dr. Naina Patel and her friends have come from Bakersfield. All of us at Fresno State are so grateful to the Ravi and Naina Patel Family Foundation for having the vision and giving the gift of the MK Gandhi Center, Inner Peace and Sarvodaya, the first ever created. We also wish to thank the Jain and Hindu community members who endowed the first ever Jain and Hindu Dharma Endowed Chair. Together, you collectively inspire all of us at Fresno State and in our community to live harmoniously and to promote the uplift of all. Friends, you're in for a special treat, as Dr. Veena Howard has prepared a great lineup of speakers and programs for the next 2 days, including Nipun Mehta's workshop focusing on building noble friendships tomorrow afternoon. The theme of Nipun Mehta's talk and this symposium at large is at the heart of what we do in the humanities writ large. There is an inextricably close relationship among the humanities, the arts, healing, inner peace, and uplift of all. As humanists, we focus on the highest human values. Humanists help people cultivate their character by investigating important questions about human existence, ultimately in a quest for human flourishing. It's what the ancient Greek philosophers called eudaimonia. That's what we really seek as humanists, is human flourishing. The humanities at their best express our human yearning for peace, while actively analyzing and refining methods of peacemaking. It's not just thinking pretty thoughts, it's actually putting it into action. That's what we teach in our classrooms and through our scholarship. Moreover, artists pursue this same quest creatively through many media. We hope you'll join us tomorrow evening to experience the arts in action, as Dr. Howard has collaborated with Dr. Sue Kapoor on the Peace Garden celebration of Gandhi's birthday, as well as with Professor Joan Sharma in the Art Design and Art History department on a classical Indian music concert. All of that happens tomorrow evening. This symposium would not have been possible without further help. I would like to thank especially the Department of Philosophy, whose chair, Dr. Robert Maldonado, is here, as well as the administrative support coordinator, Ms. Ruth Aparicio, who was here just now helping as well. Thank you both for supporting this symposium. Finally, we are truly inspired by the person who made this all happen, and that is Dr. Veena Howard, professor in the Department of Her incredible efforts leading the MK Gandhi Center and holding the Endowed chair in Jain and Hindu Dharma have made all of this happen. On top of it, she produces impressive scholarship that reflects her keen intellect and dedication to furthering understanding on topics ranging from Dharma and nonviolence to those who carry out this, including Gandhi and the women behind the civil rights movement in the United States. Her range is wide and profound in her scholarship. She also happens to present her scholarship at a wide range of conferences, and she's a beloved teacher of many classes here at Fresno State in the Department of Philosophy as well as the Smith-Him Family Honors College. She is already planning events for this coming spring, so stay tuned and look for posts on our college's website and more, including one that will focus on the documentary of Mahatma Gandhi's wife, Kasturba. Please join me in giving Dr. Veena Howard a warm welcome. Yes, that's team. And the president. And the president. It's wonderful.
Thank you, Dean Chapman. You are just amazing. What can we do wrong when you have such a great leaders? Thank you. Thank you very much. I would also like to extend a warm welcome to all of you. I see many students. Yay! Yes? Shout out. So that's great because we do this over the weekdays that our students can join also. I just don't want to do during the weekends, which might be much easier, but weekdays our students can come. Also, there are many people who have joined us on the webinar. There were 100 registrations.
Hello? Okay. Okay, again, a very warm welcome to all of you. Now you can hear me. Okay. So we are very thankful to Dean Chapman for all her support. You cannot do all these things without the support of our leaders. And our president, Dr. Saul Jimenez Sandoval, who is the university's president, and his lovely wife, Dr. Mariana Ignatopoulos, I practiced it. She is my philosophy colleague as well and a dear friend, and they have joined us. And Dr. Shaoning Fu, who is our provost. So can you believe this star-studded event? Provost, president, deans, everybody's here to welcome you. So please give a big round of applause to all of you. And I would like to welcome all of our guests who have traveled from far places, my colleagues, students, and also I'd like to give warm welcome to all of those who are joining us on Zoom. Many donors, many friends, many students are joining us on Zoom. So this symposium focuses on healing, cultivating inner joy and noble friendships, and cherishing our oneness. So hence we begin with the land acknowledgement. The Fresno State campus sits in the midst of the San Joaquin Valley, a valley rich in traditions and representation of Native American people and cultures. We are grateful to be in the traditional homelands of the Yokuts and Mano people, whose diverse tribal communities share stewardship over this land. So we are grateful to them. In this spirit of joy, I would like to invite the Chinmaya Mission Fresno children to chant the Bhagavad Gita, one of the most prominent religious and philosophical texts of Hindu Dharma tradition, and also it inspired many, many leaders like Albert Einstein and many others. So please welcome our children.
Hari Om and Namaste to you all. My name is Shari Sonavane and we are all students of Chinmaya Mission Bal Vihar, Fresno. We learn Vedanta studies and Bhagavad Gita chanting in this class. Mahatma Gandhi was well known for his principles of ahimsa and was a huge follower of the Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita teaches us how to stay calm and to keep our focus. We are very proud to present to you Bhagavad Gita chapter 1 shlokas 1 to 23.
Sanjaya Uvacha Drishva tu Pandavanikam Yudham Duryodhanastada Acharyam Upasangamya Raja Vachanam Abravit Pashyaitam Panduputranam Acharya Mahatim Chamum Yudham Drupadaputrena Tava Shishyena Dhimata Atra Shura Maheshvasaha Bhimarjuna Samayudhi Yuyudhano Viratascha Drupadascha Maharataha Drishtaketuscha Idanaha Kashirajascha Viryavan Purujit Kunti Bhojascha Shaivyascha Narapungavaha Yudhamanyuscha Vikrantaha Uttamaujascha Viryavan Saubhadro Draupadeyascha Sarva eva Maharataha Asmakam tu Vishishtaye Tani Bodhati Jotama Nayaka Mama Sainyasya Sanyartham Tan Bravimite Bhavan Bhishmascha Karnascha Kripascha Samitinjayaha Ashvatthamadikarnascha Somadatti Sathaivacha Anyaicha Bhava Shuraha Madarthe Tyakta Jivitaha Nana Shastra Praharanaha Sarve Yuddha Visharadaha Aparyaptam Tadasmakam Balam Bhishma Virakshitam Paryaptam Vidame Desham Balam Bhima Virakshitam Ayaneshu Cha Sarveshu Yatha Bhagam Avastitaha Bhishmameva Virakshantu Bhavantah Sarva Eva Hi Tasya हर्षं गुरुवृद्धा पितामहः सिंहनादं विनाद्यौचैः शङ्खं दद्मो प्रतापवान् ततः शङ्खाश्च भैर्यश्च पणवानकगोमुखः सहसैवाभ्यहन्यन्तः सशब्दस्तु मुलो भवत ततः श्वेतैर्हयैर्युक्ते महते स्यन्दने स्थितौ माधवः पाण्डवश्चैव दिव्यौ शङ्खौ प्रदद्मतुः पाञ्चजन्यं ऋषिकेशः देवदत्तं धनञ्जयः पौन्द्रं दद्मो महाशङ्खं भीमकर्मा कृपोदरः अनन्तविजयं राजा कुन्तिपुत्रो युधिष्ठिरः नकुलः सहदेवश्च सुघोषाणि पुष्पकौ काशश्च परमेश्वासः शिखण्डी च महारथः दृष्टद्युम्नो विराटश्च सात्यकिश्च पराजितः द्रुपदो द्रौपदेयाश्च सर्वशः पृथिवीपते सौभद्राश्च महाबाहुः शङ्खान् दद्मुः पृथक् पृथक् सघोषो धार्तराष्ट्राणां हृदयानि व्यधारयत नभश्च पृथिवीं चैव तुमुलो व्यनुनादयन् अथ व्यवस्थितान् दृष्ट्वा धार्तराष्ट्रान् कपिध्वजः प्रवृत्ते शास्त्रसम्पाते धनुरुद्यम्य पाण्डवः ऋषिकेशं तदा वाक्यम् इदमाहमहीपते अर्जुन उवाच सेनयोरुभयोर्मध्ये स्थापयामि यावदेतान्निरीक्षेऽहं योद्धुकामानवस्थितान् कैर्मया सह योद्धव्यम् अस्मिन् रणसमुद्यमे योत्स्यमानानवेक्षेऽहं य एतेऽत्र समागताः धार्तराष्ट्रस्य दुर्बुद्धेः युद्धे प्रिये चिकीर्षवः। हरि ओम्।
We are hopeful for our future. Yes. We can't remember some names or phone numbers. 23 verses in Sanskrit. This is heartwarming. Beautiful. Thank you so much. They came early from school so they could be here. So thank you. Now I would like to invite Shaili Shah, who is our own Smith Camp honor student, and she'll recite the Jain Namokara mantra.
Thank you, Dr. Howard. I'm Shaylee, I'm in Smith Camp, and today, like Dr. Howard said, I will be reciting the Namokar mantra, which is one of the most important mantras in Jainism. To start us off, I will offer an English translation of the mantra, and then I will sing the mantra. So the English translation is as follows. I bow down to the Arihantas, the enlightened souls. I bow down to the Siddhas, the liberated souls. I bow down to the Acharyas, the religious leaders. I bow down to the Upadhyas, the spiritual teachers. I bow down to all the sadhus, the sages in the world. By worshiping these 5 groups, I destroy all sins and obstacles in my life. Amongst all that is auspicious, this Namokar mantra is the foremost. Namo Namo, Namo Namo, Namo Namo. Namo Arihantanam, Namo Siddhanam, Namo Ayariyanam, Namo Uvajayanam, Namo Loe Sabvasahunam, Eso Panchanamokaro Savva Pavapanasano, Mangalanancha Savvesim, Padamamahavai Mangalam. Namo Namo, Namo Namo, Namo Namo. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Now I would like to present to you our youngest audience, or maybe second youngest. There's another little one there. Agnika Khandru, who is a daughter of our own Dr. Srinivas Khandru. to perform a Bharatanatyam dance. And this dance invokes joy and, of course, leads to healing. Beautiful, Avanika. Thank you so much. You're like a goddess, dude, or goddess. Today is Navami or Ashtami? Ashtami, right? Hey, wow, beautiful. Thank you. Ashtami is the goddess festival, and this little princess goddess did a beautiful job. So now I'd like to welcome our university president, Dr. Saul Jimenez Sandoval. He's a visionary leader and a very caring human being. He leads by example and embodies the values of healing, joy, and care. He's passionate about Mahatma Gandhi's teachings and Jain and Hindu initiatives at Fresno State, and has been a great source of inspiration and support for me and the community. Thank you, Dr. Himada. Because of your Alegria Mental Health Force, I was inspired to use this title for the content. So you're welcome to see.
I'll use your podium if you don't mind. Nice to see all of you here today. It's great to be with you. I wish we had these type of events every day where we can bring joy and healing and self-centeredness into the world. It's very nice to see the community also showing up like this with all of our students here as well. So thank you, Dr. Howard, for all the energy that you put into putting this together. Thank you to the Dean, and thank you to the Associate Dean as well, who also support you very much in what you do. So I would like to welcome all of you to our colleagues, students, and friends. It is truly wonderful to see all of you here today in this space in which we will share thoughts and we will share good wishes for ourselves and also for each other and for the world as well. I'd like to thank the kids who performed today. What a treat that was. Why don't we give them a round of applause? So I'm inspired by their performance because their performance means that we have more peace in the world, their prayers and their dances. And at the same time, I'm certain that many of them will become bulldogs in the future. So that's my wish, that they come to us here and help us build even further what we have already begun to. And I'm looking at you, that's big cap. That was really, really, really good. A very special welcome to the community members and the supporters of the MK Gandhi Center, the Inner Peace and Sarvodaya, and the Jain and Hindu initiative here at Fresno State. I would like to take a moment to acknowledge the guests and friends who have traveled far distances to be here with us. And if I miss any of you, my apologies. The trustees of the Uberoi Foundation, Dr. Howard has spoken to me a lot about the Uberoi Foundation, and I know that you have supported her very much throughout this time. They have come from to Fresno State from New Delhi, India, which is a long way. I've made that trek myself in the past. It takes about 24 hours, so I appreciate your being here. They've come to us from Florida, from Denver, and from Hawaii. We welcome you here. They have supported various research projects of Dr. Howard, like I said before, as well as a symposium and the very successful 2019 conference on Gandhi's global legacy. Likewise, it is wonderful to see Dr. Naina Patel. I saw her earlier. Where is she? There she is. Nice to see you, Dr. Patel. Very good to see you here. I still have a very nice memory within me of the time we spent together at University House. And her friends who have joined us from Bakersfield, they have given our students and community the gift of the MK Gandhi Center, one that enhances conversations and actions on diversity, on care, and on peace for each other and for the world. I'm also very happy to see many of the supporters of the Jain and Hindu initiative who are here joining us in person and on Zoom, including JP and Renu Sethi, Dr. Modi, and Dr. Sulek Jain. Thank you very much to them as well. A round of applause, please. I also want to thank Nipun Mehta. I look forward to your talk. Very much needed during these days, I must say. And to the scholars who have taken time out of their busy schedules to speak at the symposium, I would like to acknowledge Dr. Lovely Sharma and Dr. Veena Chandra as well. They are here today. Oh, perfect. Very nice to see you. Very nice to see you. They have come to us from India as well, so long trip as well, and I look forward to seeing that. They will perform Tuesday evening at the Indian Classical Music Concert organized by Professor Joan Sharma, and that's a true treat. I've seen that before, and it's a true treat to everything, to the spirit, to the ears, and to the eyes as well. I'm thankful to Dr. Veena Howard for organizing this event. The HighWay to Healing, what an incredible name, that's beautiful. Understanding the Ocean of Oneness. We appreciate her leadership in creating programming for both Gandhi and Jain and Hindu initiatives. The symposium highlights the values of our community and of Fresno State as well. We believe that when we take care of one another, we are stronger and happier. Jain, Hindu, and Gandhi's principles and teachings have emphasized the importance of working toward the uplift of all, cultivating inner peace and nurturing relationships. And I've learned a lot from Dr. Howard about Sarvodaya, and I appreciate that very much, that we are now nurturing that here at Fresno State. All the events sound very interesting to me, and I am pleased to see the participation of our students and of the community. So please enjoy the symposium. Take a walk around Fresno State during this beautiful time of the year, especially around the Peace Garden. You will see Gandhiji in the Peace Garden. I have learned that from Dr. Howard as well. So once again, it is my true honor to welcome you to Fresno State. Thank you very much.
Thank you, President Saulji. Appreciate it. All right, the words I chose for this symposium is Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina, Sarve Santu Niramaya, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kashintu Bhave. May all beings be happy, may all beings be healthy. What were the sages of Hinduism, Jainism, Buddhism were thinking when they were chanting that verse, may all beings be happy, thousands of years ago? They knew that the happiness of the other is the happiness of mine. If someone, we realized it during the COVID times that we had some cases far away from here and we were affected by those. So we are interconnected, and may all beings be happy. And how do we work toward them? Not only human beings, but also non-human animals as well. The plants, the birds, all beings that are happy, then we are happy. In this realization of interconnectedness and oneness inspires us to work together and care for others. I am grateful to many who have supported me with the organizing of this event. It takes a village to put this event together, trust me. So many people. I'm grateful to scholars, colleagues who will be presenting in person or virtually. My thanks to our donors, our leaders, our co-sponsors, our supporters, and also including the Ethics Center. My colleague, Dr. Fiala, is here, our Department Chair, Dr. Robert Maldonado, Asian American Studies Program, the Cross Culture and Gender Center, the colleagues are here, Kathy Moa and others, Fresno State Alumni Association, and the university's Mental Health Task Force. My special thanks to Ruth Aparicio and the Department of Philosophy and the team of our wonderful students. I call them my angels, Ali Herr, Faith Van Hoven, Arya Desai, and Sean Husted. So I want to give always a platform to our students. So Sean has taken two of my classes, and he's taking right now, and he is very bright, smart, very thoughtful, critical thinker, and I invited him to introduce Nipun Mehta. So please welcome Sean.
Well, I guess that was quite the introduction. Thank you, Dr. Howard. Well, hello everybody. Welcome to the first day to the HighWay of Healing event here at Fresno State. As said before, my name is Sean Hustedi, and I am a philosophy major, specifically in the religious studies subsection. And taking this major at Fresno State has definitely given me this unique opportunity with Dr. Howard to study Dharmic concepts, and we related it specifically to Mahatma Gandhi's theory of nonviolence, which translates to ahimsa, and it's the Dharmic word for it. And then I liked that class last semester so much that I'm taking another one with her right now, specifically about Jainism and Hinduism, two faiths that I believe we'll be getting into a little bit later. Now, this has definitely helped my major get an even broader application than, well, just philosophy, religion, just everything in the mind. It's taken it to take those concepts into somewhere where we need it most, the real world. And I have to say, it is very exciting to have Fresno State have these types of events for students like us here today, especially for Fresno State students that may not necessarily be philosophy majors, religious study majors, because this is a unique opportunity for all of us to learn about a new philosophical perspective that's going to be very unfamiliar, especially to a Western audience such as ourselves. So here I stand with the absolute honor of introducing our keynote speaker, Mr. Nipun Mehta, the founder of ServiceSpace.org, an incubator of projects that supports gift culture. In his mid-20s, Nipun quit his job to become a full-time volunteer. And over the last 15 years, his work has reached over millions, attracted more than 500,000 volunteers, and mushroomed into numerous projects like Daily Good, Awakening Circles, and Karma Kitchen. Among his many prestigious accolades, former President Barack Obama appointed him on a council for social change. The Dalai Lama recognized him as an unsung hero of compassion, and Germany's OOOM magazine named him the top 100 most inspiring people of 2018. And he is here with us today to deliver us a lecture on the topic of awakening joy in turbulent times. And let us all give a warm welcome to Mr. Nipun Mehta.
The introduction was better than the talk. What a joy to be here. Again, I was just thinking of this title. I think there's a shortcut. Awakening joy in turbulent times. Just come to this and watch the kids do their thing. I mean, wow, that was really beautiful. I appreciated that a lot. It's a joy to be here, partly also because you have a Gandhi Center. I mean, how amazing is that? This is Gandhi's birthday, October 2nd. For those of you not of Indian descent, to give you the magnitude, which you can't really pick up from books, of who this man was and what his spirit represented to people. When he passed away, when he was assassinated, by his tradition, the Hindu tradition, they cremated him and they were going to submerge the ashes into the ocean, into the rivers, back to the elements. And they said, man, such a great man, we should carry the ashes through the train, and so everyone sort of gets a chance to benefit from the procession. And there was a young, I think someone from the UK, Vincent Sheen, he was a reporter, he writes this in his book, that he was documenting this, and he says he has never seen or experienced anything quite like it. There were thousands and thousands of people across the entire duration of the train ride, lining up just for that glimpse of being in the presence of the ashes of this great man. And it wasn't the ashes per se, but really it was that he connected them to that part in them, which knew that love is a stronger force than anything else. And they said, I want to pay homage to that place in me. So if this train is going thousands of miles, people would line up. And this guy said, I have never heard of anything like this. I have never seen anything like this. I have never even imagined anything like this. And that was the stature of this simple man with a very big heart. And so the fact that you have a Gandhi Center here is very exciting. And a wonderful thing. So thank you for doing that. Thank you all. I don't know who all is involved, but so I wanted to talk today about less about Gandhi, but perhaps the implications of Gandhi, which is really awakening joy in turbulent times. We live in turbulent times. We live in difficult times. How can we respond with joy? How do we awaken that joy? And this joy is not like happiness, right? Because happiness, like the opposite of happiness is sadness. And so you're like, oh, I want to be happy, and then you're sad, and you kind of go around. But joy invites us into a much bigger frame. And so how do we tap into that? So I have a few ideas that I want to share with you. These are just ideas. Maybe it'll be helpful for you. But I want to start with a video clip. And this is a video clip of two people that probably, I'm guessing, every single one of you has heard of. And they have held on their shoulders incredible amount of turbulence, of grief, of pain, of collective trauma. These are two people, Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu. Dalai Lama as a teenager, imagine one of the world's mightiest country like saying, yeah, we want to take you down. And he's responsible for his people, and he's a teenager. That's Dalai Lama, that's how he's grown up. And then Desmond Tutu. What he has done with truth and reconciliation, incredible. They were both of two very different faiths. But there was a beautiful Desmond Tutu, of course, as most of you would know, passed away last year. But here is a short video clip of the two of them. And it just makes me smile every time. Well, take a look. Take a look.
Mischievous, aren't you?
I consider that person also is a mischievous person. Unfortunately, that person is Christian.
Unfortunately, he's a Buddhist.
There's a question of how you think about your own deaths. That possibility.
Quite polite. Quite polite.
Well, he doesn't mind too much because there's the reincarnation.
And I'm wondering, what is it about your friendship with each other that allows you to have this kind of extraordinary joy?
He's always troubling me. I admire him enormously. Oh, he's going to get proud. I'm just saying, he is there for us as a beacon.
So I really love, you see, he always teasing me. And also I tease him. Oh, you see, so we really become something quite special.
Yes.
So, and also his face. Is, you see, the head looks like a monk now. You see, this picture, special picture, I think at time of my death, I will remember.
For those that don't know as much about Tibetan Buddhism, for the Dalai Lama to say at the time of my death, I will remember this face, is an incredible compliment. Because he's not interested in carrying things and impressions from this lifetime onwards unless they're rooted in deep virtue. I mean, that is, and so here you have these two people doing such difficult work day in and day out. Dalai Lama still is, Desmond Tutu up until last year. And look at the two of them, right? Pulling his beard, doing all his stuff, you know. So how do we tap into that, you know? And it feels very hard because the world we live in, these are difficult times. This is from Economist magazine. Unhappiness is soaring around the world, says the head of Gallup. And the problem actually started way before the pandemic, they're saying. And here's the exact quote. He says, negative emotions, the aggregate of stress, sadness, anger, worry, and physical pain reached a record high last year. And they just gave a few examples. I mean, they gave a whole bunch, but I'll just share a couple here. You know, a Lebanese man told us that his life was zeft, the Arabic word for tar, meaning it could not be any darker. They talked to a Canadian guy who spoke of loneliness because they'd unknowingly realized that, oh, that was his birthday, and he wasn't talking to anybody but pollsters. A Vietnamese factory worker they spoke with broke down in tears after telling us that nobody had ever asked her how happy she was. And if you look at the aggregate numbers, 2 billion people, 2 billion, would not recommend their community to anybody they know. It's like, please don't come where I am at. It's a terrible place. 2 billion. 330 million people around the world go 2 weeks without talking to any single person. I mean, this is the state of the world. These are turbulent times we're living in. 20% of adults don't know anyone they can count on for help. It's a tough world right now. And for younger people, I mean, we're here at a university, younger people, it's even harder. So this is Pew Center for Research. They said 73% of people under 30, they agree with this notion. They agree with this statement. Mostly people look out for themselves. Do you agree or not? 73% of young people say yes, of course. Mostly, I see young people nodding their head. They're like, yeah, of course, that's what people do, right? Look out for themselves. And the second one, most people would try to take advantage of you if they got a chance. I hope you're not shaking your head, but people are. And I think it's very hard in these times because your identity is completely shaken up. There was a guy named Zagat Bowman who wrote a book, and he says, all the traits that were once assigned to you by your community, you must now determine on your own. Your identity, your morality, your gender, your vocation, your purpose, and the place of your belonging. We have no help. And it's tough. It becomes incredibly tough. And usually where are we going? We're scrolling. We're like, where's the answer? Where's the answer? We spend all our time doing that and not really finding it. And all research points us to that very fact. So it becomes, quite sad when you see that there's a 73% increase in depression in the last decade practically. This is pre-pandemic. And there's a stunning rise in teen suicide. So this is just for the turbulent. I will get to the awakening joy. I promise. I promise. But if you put turbulent times in the title, I gotta bring a little bit turbulence, right? But this is actually, we can't gloss over it. It's tough. It's hard. We're polarized, and we want to connect, but we somehow are not equipping ourselves to do that. And there are so many people in the business world that are looking at this as an opportunity. So they're saying, oh, you're not able to find your answers there with each other because, nobody even recommends their community to anybody. Oh, so no one around you? Okay, well, try social media. Oh, that's exhausting. Okay, well, we've got better ideas. We're going to put you into the metaverse. And they're looking at the numbers. And what are the numbers? 2.5 billion gamers. 2.5 billion people are playing video games, which is basically saying, look, this is all not that interesting. And I'd rather just escape into another virtual world. And how many hours is that? I'll let you do the math, right? 8 hours, 27 minutes, that's how long the average gamer plays each week. Binge gaming has gone up 13%. So you have these things called esports. I'm a big sports fan, because I mean, it feels like these guys are real playing, but now people gather to watch each other play video games. And I mean, if I say, wow, that's like shocking to me, people would younger kids would look at me and like, okay, Grandpa, that's okay. We no longer do it the way you used to do it. That's fine. But there's something about losing the multidimensional connection with each other. Right? So we live in turbulent times, but we're losing connection to each other in even greater ways. So how do we turn things back? And there's a woman, there's a Gandhian, in fact. She told me this quote. I think it's probably by somebody else, but I'll credit her, Rajni Bakshi, a very dear friend. And she says, look, yeah, it's tough. But she says it's so tough that pessimism is for better times. Right? You can't afford to be pessimistic right now, man, because everything's going to go down. We better get optimistic pretty soon. So how do we respond, right? How do we hold all this? How do we create a bigger frame? And that's a question, that as the Buddha might say, how do we find the lotus in the mud? Because the lotus grows in the mud. And so there's a lot of stuff, but there's a possibility of birthing something new and profound. And in this infinity of suffering that we see, we're like, oh my God, there has been suffering before, there continues to be suffering, and it feels like there's gonna be suffering forever. So man, that's unending. That's like an infinity sign. But with that suffering there's also people responding with great compassion. With oppression, we were talking about Gandhi earlier, right, on Gandhi Jain. With oppression, there were people who responded with a heart of love. And the mainstream media is not going to tell us this story because we know what bleeds leads, right? Like, so we're going to hear a lot of that, and that's true. But what's also true is that there's a lot of people responding with compassion. So post-pandemic, we actually launched a website. Like, this is in March 2020. We were like, everyone is so much caught up in fear. We said, we got to do something. We said, okay, instead of coronavirus, we're going to call it Karuna. Karuna is essentially a word for compassion. And it just featured news stories. There are thousands of these news stories. It is still going. Now we don't call it virus is a little, like, I think we have all virus fatigue, right? So we call it Karuna News. But this is like, you just saw like little kids saying, oh, everyone's separated and isolated. Okay, you know what? I'm going to set up a joke stand to make other people's days. I mean, it was incredible. You had people sacrificing their lives. You had this one fellow who's like 99 years old, and he said, I don't know what I can do. I'm going to do a walkathon in my backyard. Right? And he raised so much money, and he became the talk of UK. There were people saying, oh, last cylinder. You know, at those times, I don't know if you remember those times. If 2 years ago, it feels like a long time ago. Where you're like, you needed oxygen, and there wasn't enough oxygen in cylinders. And there was this one guy, he says, you know, you're younger than me. You have it. You just had story after story after story. So what you see this kind of resilience, this kind of response to suffering of great compassion, you see this everywhere in nature. This is a whole bunch of redwood trees where I live, a little north of here. We've had a lot of fires recently, in recent years, and this was a whole redwood grove, and you know, everything gets burned down. These are all ashes. But then there's sprouts. Right? There's some seeds, actually, that only sprout under great duress, under great heat. And are our hearts like that? Are you and I going to step up in turbulent times to awaken that great compassion, to awaken that great joy? It's a question I ask myself all the time. This is a woman, I love this visual because it's so emblematic, I think. This is a woman going into brain surgery. She's a trained classical violinist. And they told her, look, we're going to do this brain operation, but in it we might hurt like some nerve or something, and you may forget how to play the violin. So the best defense, keep playing the violin during surgery. That's what she's doing. She's playing the violin. I don't know if you can see that very clearly here, but she's playing the violin. And that's like a little bit like our practice of compassion. That yeah, times are turbulent, but are you still practicing the violin? Are you still doing your acts of kindness? So I want to suggest something. I've got a point. Surprise, surprise. I want to suggest that if we connect the fruit, let me go back one. Sorry, this is taking. If we connect the branch strips to the roots, right, the fruit to the roots, I think we'll be able to create a bigger frame and awaken joy. If we're just after the fruits, it's really, I mean, we already know that's not working, right? So what is the fruits and what are the branches, what's happening at the branch tips and what's happening at the fruits, right? Let's take a look. So I want to frame it in a very simple way. Me is at the branch tips. We and us. So I'll dive into each one of these. I think if we can draw a through line between those branch tips and the roots, between the me and the us, I think we can really create a different narrative, a different possibility. So let's just briefly look into the we. Me first. Right? Oh, so here is a person. This is actually from yesterday. I don't know if you can hear the video. I really hope with the AC you can. It's fine. You can hear the audio. This really touched me. This is like a real story. We were doing a 21-day interfaith compassion challenge. So we had 21 days, and every day you had a different faith. And every faith spoke about what compassion is to them and what you could do to practice it. And there were people from 84 countries that participated. It was incredible. I mean, it just kind of fills your heart. And yesterday was our closing call. We started on 9/11, and 21 days later happens to be Gandhi's birthday. So we were like, okay, all right, we're gonna reframe both of those things. And so this woman shared this very real, raw, I'll let you just experience it.
I'm Sharon. I'm 37 years old. I'm quadriplegic, and I live in a nursing home. And I've actually been moved from an ALF to a hospital to 3 different nursing homes during the beginning of this challenge, which is why I'm a bit behind.
Because of the hurricane in Florida.
I have gained so much from this challenge happening at this specific time in my life, being moved to a nursing home from an assisted living facility. And I'm sorry if there's any background noise.
It's no problem.
Sorry. But this compassion challenge has meant so much to me because it has given me an outward thing to do rather than to balk in my own self-pity or feel sorry for myself or just feel afraid of my new surroundings. So I've been concentrating on showing compassion while also having in my mind the need for me to be having more self-compassion. And it's so easy to find ways to give compassion to practice compassion in a nursing home. You have the residents here that are sick or disabled or dying. You have the staff here who work so hard. Everybody that you come in contact with, you want to express some form of compassion with. So it's given me a way to become creative with how I express compassion. And through all this expression of compassion towards others, it's made me more outgoing and more like an extrovert. And it has taught me deep self-compassion because I realized that everything I'm putting externally, I should be giving to myself as well because I'm in the same situation as these people. I feel bad for them that they don't have anyone visiting them. I feel bad for them that they're, all alone or they're in pain and this kind of things. These are the same kind of things I experience. So of course I deserve my own compassion too. So a little thing that I did recently is on my recent Amazon order for the month, I had a few items and I made all of them into a gift. So I left myself a gift note from myself for each little item, whether it be soap or pens I'm getting and that kind of thing. Just so I'll have a little gift note with either a word of encouragement or a compliment from me to me. So I thought that was like just a nice little way of showing myself some self-compassion that wouldn't have come to be without this. And I just want to thank everybody involved, especially you, Nipun. Thank you for everything that you've done and everybody involved with getting this pod going. I've just grown. I keep telling my mom, I feel like I've gotten something of so much value without having a monetary cost associated with it. And I've just grown so much from it. So thank you all. I really appreciate it. So much gratitude here.
I mean, I was emceeing, but I was in tears. And she is quadriplegic. She is saying, I want to go through 21 days of 21 faiths with 21 practices of compassion. She's disconnected with her body by circumstance. She's alone. Nobody comes to visit her. And she's getting soap and pens on Amazon. And she's saying, I will write a love note to myself. And that kind of a person is saying, I want to practice love. We all decided, of course, that we're going to do a love caravan for Sharon. This morning, we just mobilized that. So everyone's picking one day of the month, and every day of that month, we're going to. It's like if I'm responsible for the third of the month, I'm going to send her a letter or something, a love note on the third of the month. You do the fourth and fifth, and so she's going to be showered with all this. But there's so many others like that, and yet what she's pointing to is this me, taking care of the me. Right? It's a very real thing in our culture today. And if you look at it, I think there's two elements on the seesaw. I have 3 seesaws for each one. One is self-esteem. Right? This section of me is actually saying, how am I unique? I am something. I matter. You matter. Right? And that we are so far off the center that this becomes a very critical part of our current culture. But if it just becomes about self-esteem, then that leads to narcissism. I'm so unique, I'm so amazing, thank you. You guys should all bow down to me. So I think it needs to be tempered with self-compassion. So self-esteem says, I am unique, and I have a unique offering in the world, and that's wonderful. But self-compassion says, look, we're all suffering, and we're all bound by that common thread. That we all have a tough day, right? It maybe not all on the same day, but thank God. But we're all in it together. We all have that common thread. And if you remember that, you're a lot gentler with yourself. And so if you can balance both of these things, you're grounded in the me. And that's critical. If you go a little further into the we, this is, again, with the we, I think you start to expand your circle. You start to, what Sharon is also teaching us, you start to move from like just me and mine to, I want to include you. I want to include you. I want to include you. And at some point, you become so good at this inclusion that you're like, oh, I want to include even those people that don't like me. I want to include people even that don't look like me. Okay, you guys all have hair. I don't have hair. I still love you. It's okay. Like we're capable of that. This is a New York Times best-selling author, also one of our volunteers, and she's like, I want to do something. What am I going to do? So she's like, if this is her husband, and she says, we are fed, housed, and deeply blessed. We have a need to give. Please, will you accept? Will you accept? I mean, that's pretty cool. She's trying to build through generosity, through a small act. It's not like it's going to change that person's life forever, but at the same time, the love is real. Love is transmitted. I think I've got a video coming up. Let's see. Oh, this is an incredible example from Ukraine. Early days of the war. Ukraine, Russia are fighting in this one region of Ukraine. They captured a bunch of prisoners of war, a bunch of Russian soldiers. But they did something different in this place. Instead of like dominating them, instead of beating them up, instead of taking them to a certain place, they brought them into the town square. All these people gathered, and there was this one woman that goes up and says, hey, you are Russian, I'm Ukrainian, we're supposed to be fighting, but I bet you have a mom that's worried for you. And the guy's like, yeah, he says, I have a phone, I'll call. And another grandma who was over there says, you know what, I have some soup. Here's some soup. True story. A little bit of it is caught on tape here. Just a few seconds. You'll see him tearing up. He's talking to his mom. People had brought food. These are real stories. And not stories you hear of in the mainstream media, but they happen. These are people, imagine if you're in that position. Let's say one of your loved ones was killed in this war, or you felt like they could be killed in the future. You have a lot of hatred maybe, and then you're like, you must have a mom too. And I have a phone. They won't let you call, but I can call and I can hold my phone up. But with the we also have an edge. On one side, of course, there's inclusion. We feel like, hey man, if Gandhi made the whole world his brothers and sisters, I should do that starting today. But I may not have the capacity. So if I'm just talking about it, I'm like, yeah, let me just do it. Oh, you guys are all my brothers. That's just lip service. That's not real deep inclusion, right? That's just tokenism. That's performative. So how do you go a little deeper? And the answer is actually, ironically, about having healthy boundaries. Healthy boundaries. Which is to say, yeah, I want to include, all living beings are my brothers and sisters, yes. And at the same time, if you just do that without having the inner work, without having that capacity, you're actually going to reduce your generosity. Brene Brown talks a lot about this. The most compassionate people she has studied are those who are able to have these healthy boundaries. So we have to learn to figure out, like, at what point do we expand our inclusion? At what point do we have these boundaries? And there's no recipe for that. We have to learn to tune in to that. And so this is the second part of we, and then I'll go into the us. And the us is kind of amazing, because where you have the me, which is Nipun, us, or we, which is all bald people, and the us is just life. The us is sort of even a bigger meta frame. If you're looking at the waves in the ocean, right? Maybe if you identify with the wave, you're like, oh, the wave came and the wave went. Oh my God, that's so sad. Oh, another wave came, I'm so happy. Oh, another wave went. Oh my God, I'm depressed. But if you identify with yourself as an ocean, then all of a sudden, everything takes on a whole different meaning. You're the ocean, and in it, the waves are arising and passing. That just has a very different outlook on it, and we all experience this. This is not something for the mystical sages in the Himalayas or the Gandhis of the world, right? We all experience, and actually it's all around us, examples of this. We experience it, and then we forget about it, or maybe we don't even think it's significant. We think the me, the self-esteem part, is the most significant, but actually, this stuff may end up being significant as well. I mean, we're all familiar with like these Zoom screens, right? This is our recent Zoom call. But what you start to notice, if there are deep tentacles, if there are deep roots, if we've just collected a bunch of people in a room, it doesn't lead to much coherence. Like, I'm talking about a subtle kind of coherence, right? I'm talking about a feel. But as soon as you start to actually have a deep feel that where the roots are interconnected with each other, there's a very different feel to it. And the way it shows up is you're swimming in serendipity. Because you can't figure it out, because it's beyond all your algorithms. It's beyond all Facebook and Google algorithms too. But you're just like, oh, how did that happen? Well, you don't know. Like, how was I born to my parents? I don't really know. Can you give me an algorithm for that? No. But you're like, oh, that kind of stuff is happening all the time. And you see this, here's an example. Okay, I'm going to go back. So this is a real life thing that happened. This is, sorry, I need to probably stay here. Okay, here it is. A short clip of a real thing that happened at an intersection recently.
Keep your eye on this car. It's drifting across a busy intersection into oncoming traffic. The woman sprinting to help knows the driver. They work together. She realizes something is seriously wrong. It's a medical emergency. The woman behind the wheel is slumped over the steering wheel. But the brave friend can't stop the runaway car alone. You can see her waving frantically. That's when perfect strangers come together. First one, then two, 3, 4, a fifth. All hop out of their vehicles to lend a hand. Together, they stop the car. Then they try to open the doors to reach the unconscious driver. A woman finds a dumbbell in her car and gives it to one of the guys, and he uses it to smash a rear window and open the door. 911 calls start coming in.
We have an elderly woman that is unconscious at the wheel.
Is she breathing?
Yes, she is breathing.
There's a car, I think there's an incapacitated driver. They're trying to break into the car.
The drama unfolded in Boynton Beach, Florida. The driver, Lori Rabior, a seamstress, says she took medication on an empty stomach and became dehydrated.
That must be when I passed out because I hit a curb and then the car turned. That's when it went into traffic. I don't even remember leaving work.
With her is Jeanette Rivera, the brave co-worker who ran after the runaway car.
That must have been very scary.
You're my hero.
Another of the heroes, U.S. Staff Sergeant Juan Chavez. That's him running through traffic.
Honestly, I just saw somebody that needed help and I just rushed to it. I didn't really think too much of it. I didn't really think too much about my safety at that point.
Now, Boynton Beach police are appealing for all those good Samaritans to come forward to meet a very grateful lady.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I don't even know how to thank you. Thank God for people like you.
Isn't that awesome? Aren't people awesome? Right? You see a need and you respond. And you're like, who taught you that? Nobody teaches you that. In fact, there's research on how kids are wired that way. Even at the age, before they even learn language, they're like, oh, you need help? Let me go help you. I could give you a whole talk just on that. But this is a photo of a murmuration, which is the feeling of us. 2019 National Geographic runner-up for Photo of the Year. There was a guy in, I think it was a Spanish guy visiting Germany, or maybe the other way around. I should get my research right. One of those two, you know. And he was just clicking, and he didn't even realize he had got this photo. There was a big bird coming to attack, a kind of parasite, and all these people, all these thousands of starlings came together spontaneously to create this shape of a giant bird. That other parasite says, oh, bad news, goes away, and these guys, within a few seconds, all go back to their other formations. Now imagine if I told everyone here, well, if we all decided, me included, let's create a starling shape. We'd be like, okay, well, what's the business plan, you know? And then we'll be like, I don't like the beak, you know, I want to be, or rather, I don't like the wing, it's too much draft, I'd like to be in the center. Okay, no, I'd like to be in the front because I'm always a leader, you know? Like, we'd never get it together. And this is not an exception in nature, right? This happens all the time across so many species, but I don't know where we aren't getting the memo, but somewhere something is getting dropped where we're like, oh, we're too much in the me, and sometimes maybe even just in the we haven't quite taken the leap into the us, although it's all around us, although we're always responding to love. Right? So how do we start to tap into this spirit of a murmuration? There's a beautiful quote by a Benedictine monk. He says, we humans prefer manageable complexity, because that's what business people do, right? I shouldn't rag on business people, to an unmanageable simplicity. Right? What a beautiful thing. You see it in nature. Wow, you see that murmuration. They're doing these shapes and dances, and it's like so elegant, so effortless, without a leader. They're just making it happen, and here we are. So that's kind of unmanageable, because no one starling knows how it's all going to operate. But yet we prefer manageable complexity. And as a result, we don't see too many examples of designs, especially institutional designs, where you have unmanageable simplicity. Right? What would it look like to run your classroom? We have deans, we have professors, we have the chancellor. So what would it look like if your charter was run your classroom as a murmuration? Who do you have to be so that you can actually ignite the murmuration? These are deep questions, right? I won't get into them, but maybe we can do let's do maybe a 30-second practice. All right, okay. We're going to explore, okay? I'm going to tell you a very simple thing, and you guys just have to do it, and then let's see what happens, okay? All right. Here's the simple instructions. Okay, I need to get closer to this thing. Okay, okay. Clap your hands slowly in unison, and don't stop until I say stop. All right? Go. Thank you. Stop. How cool was it that we coordinated without anything in a few seconds? I mean, there's actually a lot of science. You can actually do all kinds of tricks to this too. I mean, if we wanted to have fun, we could. But we just kind of figured it out, right? So you heard the person next to you, the next person heard next to you, and all of a sudden, in like less than 5 seconds, I don't know, maybe it was 10 seconds, we were all in sync. How is that working, right? How is And how can we do more of that? And it's not just that, of course, the claps and you see birds and shapes and, you know, maybe there's some efficiency around it. I was speaking to a group of 1,500 meditation teachers just before the pandemic. And I said, you guys know meditation, way more than me even. So I was like, yeah, but you know what? Let's do a little experiment. And we gave them each a card. Some of you might know smile cards. I'll give them out tomorrow. I'm a big fan of small acts of kindness. So we had a smile card and the back side was blank. And you write down one act you're going to do at the conference there itself over the next 3 days. And then they had a circle of 10 and they shared. Why did I say I'm going to do somebody's dishes or something? You know, why is that important to me? And you heard it with these 10 people. Then they collected the card and the cards got shifted to a random table. Now you were responsible to do the act of someone else that you don't know. You heard all your intentions and now you were the keeper of someone else's intention of love. And they had this screen where you texted, you know, whatever card you got, and it was like a live feed. They did a whole thing around it. And the whole place just exploded with love. Because it's no longer like, oh, I'm really passionate about this and I'm going to go do it. It's like, no, somebody else is passionate. But I don't even know who that person is. I don't have a relationship, but still I'm moved. And not just I'm moved, but if I'm doing it and you're doing it and we're all doing it, it creates an incredible field. It creates an incredible murmuration that you maybe can't even see, but you can most certainly feel. So even with the us, though, there's an edge. On one side, there's effort. You have to do. But on the other side, there's flow. You have to not do. Each starling kind of has to do their bit, right? There has to be effort. A starling can't just be like, I'm going to coast, guys. You guys are all amazing. Somehow you'll carry me. It doesn't work. Starling has to put effort in. But starlings also have to learn to go with the flow. They have to surrender. On one side you have grit. On the other side you have surrender. When do you know what to do? If you do too much effort, you bring the whole thing down. If you do too much flow, you're mooching off of the commons. Where do you find that right balance? That's a good question to ask. So, you know, and so as I conclude here, I want to share that the connection between the branch tips and the roots is actually the Venn diagram between the me and the we and the us. Right? How do you find that sweet spot in between? This is inner work. You can't gloss over it. You can't copy paste it. I can't give you an answer. Nobody can. And if they say they do, it doesn't have the depth. The Buddha said that it's about the middle way. And most people think about the middle way. Like you talked about the seesaw, right? You talked about the edges. Most people look at these edges and say, well, find the middle. And our idea of the middle is something like this. Oh, it's beautiful on one side and it's beautiful on the other side. I'm going to take the middle path. I'll enjoy both beauties. But that's a person who hasn't practiced it. Because a person who has practiced it will tell you, like Martin Luther King says, ooh, he says, did I skip a slide? Oh, okay. A person who practices, I'll tell you, I probably have a photo mixed up, is not like this. It's more like a guitar string. Too tight, it breaks. Too loose, no music. Needs the perfect tension. And people who practice it, like Martin Luther King Jr., says peace is not the absence of tension. It's the art of actually holding that perfect tension. And we can expand on that and say, oh, finally my guitar string shows up, you know. And you can expand on it and say, joy is perhaps the skillful embrace of the right tension. And so you can ask the question, if you're going to make guacamole or something, right? You can't just copy paste. My wife makes great guacamole. You can't copy paste, right? And my mom especially. You ask her, like, she's a great cook. She's cooked for so many people, incredible heart too. You ask her, how do you, everybody's asked her, like, how do you make this? She's like, that's not how we cook in India. And I was like, what do you mean? How do you cook? He's like, you take a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and it just comes out, you know? Like, I was like, okay, all right, that's really, there's something about that intuitive approach. And so you say, how much of me, how much of we, how much of us do I bring into this moment? How do I learn to lean into that? Maybe I'm lacking a little bit of self-esteem. I need to do a little bit of that. Maybe I need to have healthy boundaries. I need to do a little bit of that. Maybe I need to put some more effort in. Maybe I need to lean into surrender. So these are all the ingredients that help us then ultimately, ooh, there's my animation. I think that should go again. Yeah. As you can tell, I've never grown up. So that's going to be our recipe for joy. But I want to leave you with a simpler question even, to put it all together. I think if you just hold this question, at least as I hold this question, I find that through line between the me and the we and the us, and I see that others who I admire in the field of social change also seem to be doing this. And that is, so here are our two heroes from the beginning, right? And this is, I think, is the key question, right? How do we align the personal and the collective flow? How do we align what we are feeling called to do with what is actually needed in the world? What is needed in the murmuration? We have to flap our wings, but it needs to be in harmony with the larger murmuration. And so we need to have our antennas up for both. If we're just doing one or the other, if you're just doing personal, you're going to be completely disconnected. If you're just doing collective, you're going to be burnt out. You try to solve the problem. I know people who have touched millions of lives and dedicated their whole lives to service. It's exhausting. But then you have people like Gandhi. He used to have 1-minute meetings. And this guy never took a vacation. He's like, vacation from what? Because he never felt like he was doing anything heavy. Now, how do you do that with like the whole country looking at you, with the entire hundreds of thousands of soldiers pointing their guns at you, and you're in the pressure cooker constantly, and having meetings, even every 1-minute meeting? I mean, that's like more busier than Elon Musk, you know? And he's like, I don't need a vacation. You're working on it. How do you do that? So, for me, what I have discovered is that people who align the personal and the collective are those who are playing an infinite game. James Speak Harsh is a professor. He wrote this book like maybe 25 years ago called Finite and Infinite Games. And the book cover, in fact, had an explanation. Well, what's a finite game and what's an infinite game? And the book cover had this explanation. He said, a finite game is played for the purpose of winning. I am smart. I am talented. I am rich. I am whatever. Right? I'm the most this. I'm the most that. But for me to be that means the rest of you aren't. And most of the games that we play, think of all the compliments you've gotten, even the compliments that you think you want to get from other people. It's to actually just say, hey, I won and you didn't. That's a finite game. But an infinite game is played not for the purpose of winning, but for the purpose of continuing the play. For the purpose of continuing life. If you ask Desmond Tutu, was he done? He would probably, I don't know, I never asked him that question, but he would probably say, did I even start it? Because he's just an instrument. Is Dalai Lama done? Did Gandhi finish? Right? Maybe they can give conventional answers, but if in their heart they're trying to finish, they would be exhausted. They wouldn't be regenerative the way all their lives were, because they're playing an infinite game. And so even in my personal experience, you know, I was doing great as a young kid out of UC Berkeley. I was working at Sun Microsystems, and I was like, you know, and now infamously it is the Facebook headquarters, that very same property in Menlo Park. You look at that, I should have mentioned that. Okay, scrap that. You look at that and you say, I looked at myself and I said, okay, I'm winning at a certain kind of a game. All right, how satisfying is that? Can I play a more infinite game? That question got me thinking and said, okay, well, let's serve other people. And so in the Silicon Valley, we started building websites for nonprofits back in 1999. And it got a lot of attention. First time on TV, I was on CNN International for like half an hour. I didn't even know what, you always wonder, how do you get on TV? How do you become, it's like, they just email you. It's true, even with the Obama campaign, you're like, how would the president get in touch with you? They just email you. And in his case, I actually thought it was spam. So I was like, right, yeah. If you're the White House, I am the Dalai Lama, sure. What do you want to say? But you start to play a more infinite game. And so we had a lot of impact. But even as we had more impact, I was like, okay, that's good. That's a bigger we. But how do I play an even more infinite game? My wife and I went on a pilgrimage and we started asking these deeper questions. And the more I met people like the Dalai Lama, I was like, oh, these guys are not playing a finite game at all. They're like, man, the joke's on you. Gandhi was not afraid of assassination, by the way. There were 18 people that tried to assassinate him 3 years before Godse got to him. And actually getting to him, super easy. He had no security. It was very easy to find him. Every day, 6 o'clock, he goes to his prayers. This guy said, I don't like you. There were millions of people that didn't like his approach. And so they were like, yeah, took out a gun and killed him. And you're like, oh, Gandhi, you should have seen that coming. You're such a smart guy. And he's like, no, he's playing a different game. He's not trying, he's saying my life itself is a finite game. I'm playing an infinite game. If you are going to assassinate me, what am I going to do? The same thing I do every day with all my actions. I'm going to bless you. Ram, Ram, Ram. His final words while the bullets were going through him. An infinite game. But if we start parsing him as like, oh, the finite game, he was so good, his strategy, all that, we're missing the larger point. He's completely playing an infinite game. And so the question, I think, for all of us is, how do we start to play into that, right? I'll skip this story, but for us, like my wife and I went on a walking pilgrimage across India to ask this question and to reflect on it. And I think what Gandhi would say is that in the early part of my life, I discovered that if I was to realize the truth, I must obey, even at the cost of my own life, the law of love. And you can replace love with joy. The law of joy, right? And Gandhi wasn't like Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu. I can't see him and Vinoba going, tickle, tickle. But I can guarantee you that inside he had the same levity. Different personality layers, but inside it's the same levity. Because he's playing an infinite game. When you play an infinite game, you're just not as, like, you're not penny pinching with stuff in this way. You've got your eye on the murmuration. And I think that's very powerful. And so I have one closing video, but this me, we, and us, it just hit me that I might have plagiarized because this is straight from Tagore. Right? I slept and dreamt that life was joy. When we're in the me, we kind of don't know this joy, but we've heard of it. We kind of gravitate towards it. We're like, I want it, and I think it's possible because it's around. Right? And then he says, I awoke and saw that life was service. Built a bigger we, built these connections. And then I acted, and behold, I fell into the murmuration and realized that every act is actually an expression of joy. Obviously, that's not what he said. So I shouldn't paraphrase a Nobel laureate, And so I want to invite us in closing to just take 2 minutes as we watch this video to actually feel into the me, into the we, and into this incredible endowment of the us that is present right now. And if we do that, I think it's an incredible feeling of humility and reverence. So as you watch this little video, take a look. try to tap into that space. I'll do that too.
Humble ourselves in the arms of the wild, gotta lay down low and humble ourselves in the arms of the wild, gotta ask her what she knows and we will lift each other up, higher and higher, we will lift each other up, higher and higher, humble ourselves in the arms of the wild, gotta lay down low and humble ourselves in the arms of the wild, gotta ask her what she knows and we will lift each other up, higher and higher, we will lift each other up, higher and higher, humble ourselves in the arms of the wild, gotta lay down low and humble ourselves in the arms of the wild, gotta ask her what she knows and we will lift each other up, higher and higher, we will lift each other up, we will lift each
Thank you.
Speechless with joy and gratitude. Thank you so much. I was reminded of Gandhi's words. When he was 75, someone asked him, Gandhi, now you are Mahatma Gandhi, why don't you go in the forest and retire like all the sages of India do? And he said, I carry my cave with me. No need to take the cave anywhere. So thank you so much. So uplifted, and I have made this promise to myself, I smile a lot. And I think I feel that in the grocery stores, the banks, everywhere, the people begin to smile back. So it's very interesting, so we should all have big smiles. So let's have our Dr. Shaning Fu, our provost, who have waited, all our leaders were here for whole time. They're so busy. The president was going to come for 20 minutes and he stayed for the whole talk. It was so inspiring. So thank you so much, and Provost will give us closing remarks, and then if you want to talk to Mr. Mehta, you can do that. There are some refreshments outside, and tomorrow's symposium continues in the morning at 9 o'clock, and online and in person as well. So thank you so much for coming, and here is our Provost.
Thank you, Dr. Howard. Good evening, everyone. What a wonderful symposium. I already learned a lot in the last hour and a half. But first, let me read the long list of thank yous. I must do them first. We appreciate the Yobarwell Foundation trustees, Dr. Neta Patel, and the scholars who are here today, coming from all over the world, and community members and friends, faculty, staff, and our students. Thank you. I also want to thank you, the friends and supporters who are part of this symposium remotely online today and tomorrow. I have had the great pleasure to meet some of you at earlier events. Special thanks go to Dr. Veena Howard and the Department of Philosophy, the College of Arts and Humanities, the deans, associate dean, and chair and faculty staff for making this wonderful event a reality this evening. Of course, I want to thank our keynote speaker, Pino Mehta, for his wonderful presentation, which lifted us all. I can't go to sleep tonight. And of course, we all appreciate that Fresno State and our community, we are the right place and we're in the right time to have this event. And we are also at the right time. We needed this. When we are living through a very turbulent time, challenging time for our community, for our university, for the state, the nation, and the world. So this is very much needed and timely for all of us. When we think about the wisdom of Gandhi and the Jain and Hinduism, and we need to understand where the joy would come from and who we are and how we live our lives. In Americans, we all know that we all seek material successes. We often define the quote-unquote success as how much money you make, how prestigious your job is, how big your house is, or what kind of car you drive. But I listened to a lot of video chat and read a lot of books about the definition of happiness. All of these teachings ended up with one thing. To be successful in life is simply you have people to love and you have people who love you. If you don't have this, you are not successful, regardless of how much money you have and how prestigious your job is, or how many cars you have, how big your house is. Because you will be lonely, you will be miserable, you will have all these negative feelings around you. But let's go back to Gandhi, because we are celebrating his life, celebrating his birthday today. And when I think about him, when I ask myself, how can I truly understand him as an ordinary person? Maybe not as a saint, not as a legendary leader, but just as a person. What strikes me most is his saying, "My life is my message." He didn't intend to teach. He didn't intend to lead. He lived a simple life. He lived the way he wanted to be. He lived the way he was. Then we all follow him. As we know, he was not competitive. He was not materialistic. He didn't dress the best clothes. And he didn't have a powerful army. But he won. Listen to me. When I said he won, I was wrong. He didn't mean to win. In his dictionary, there is no win or lose. Because when we say we win, like Mr. Mehta just taught us, that means somebody lost. Then we create misery, we create hatred, we create resentment. Gandhi wants to leave us all. We all win. We all win in a way we live in peace and harmony, respect and love with each other. This is why his life is his message, and his love is his life was the love and the lessons we learned today. We don't need to read his books, we just have to know how he lived his life. But how do we create this understanding, respect, and love with each other? The first and foremost, I think, we need to look at ourselves. We need to be modest. We need to be humble. If you are proud, you are arrogant, you will never be able to love others. Try to look at the three relationships in your life. The relationship with yourself. Who are you? How do you regard yourself? The relationship with others, with society, with your community. Then finally, your relationship with nature, with the universe. Try to understand and accept your imperfection and mediocrity. Only that you can grow from it to be a better person, to grow the capacity of love, respect. So we can build together the two words, us and we and our community. Going back to Fresno State, we have the 3D models. Discovery. We often think discovery is find the science niche. I write a paper, publish. I won a big award. How about understand discovery as discovering yourself first? Who are you? Who are the people you live with? Can you be modest, be humble? Recognize you may not be as good as others. Or how about just recognize you are not as good as others. So you are humble, you are modest. Then people started returning that to you. Then we are better us, we are better we are better community. We hope we can start that tonight. Thank you.
That's our Fresno State for you. Just off the script, such a beautiful summary. Thank you so much. So please enjoy refreshments. Thank you for coming. We'll see you tomorrow. I know everyone is just sitting. You're going to have more, so thank you.
ॐ सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामया सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः